It's Tuesday, March 7th, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Chris Quinn. I am joined by your other co-host, whose name is Mike Shalau. And we are also joined by at least one other person who is a Fade Master, whose name is Serge, and he's here too. He'll probably not make himself known in, well, I was going to say in auditory ways, but he will make himself known
the
that
vibe.
way.
You can already
And
tell.
the fade,
Those fades were sick.
They were good. I would say they were A- by Surge standards.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never fade that.
I'll give him an A+.
Oh, suck up! What a suck up! You're just trying to get the sweet fades. You want him to pay more attention to your fader. Your mic fader.
Why do you think I sound so good? You got the nice mic. I got to get everything else.
All right. I mean, whatever. I just call it as it is. You know, I'm a straight shooter. I
am not.
Speak truth to power. You know.
Never. not once.
Yes.
We do know you speak truth to power. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Oh boy. So yeah, thanks everyone for listening, for downloading, for listening over the airwaves. Thanks to Lumpin' Radio 105.5 FM, WLPN, Bridgeport, Chicago, for having us on as they always do. Thanks to everyone. I'm thankful. Very thankful.
You're a grateful, thankful guy.
Yes, and I always make it known. That's the thing about me.
You've been meditating. Yeah. You have a very zen vibe about you.
Yeah, I know. Don't make me feel bad about myself. So early in the show. Save that until later in the show, please.
Yeah, sorry, I did take 2 shots there. My apologies.
What's up with you, man?
Not much. I mean, I went down to Springfield on Saturday.
Talk about depressing.
We had a good time.
It is fun, but it's depressing. Go on.
There's a bar down there called Terra Ferment that the owner Bill comes up and picks up some great dude. Picks up some beers from us and some other breweries in the Chicagoland area, brings them back down, and it was his anniversary.
Oh, cool!
I think it was his first anniversary, and he invited us and Scratch and I think Pilot Project down. Oh, yeah, it was Pilot Project to kind of like just hang out, sample beers for people. So we brought some stuff that hadn't sent down there already and talked to people. And
that's cool.
He had some bands playing. It's a very cool space. If you're ever in Springfield, you should check it out.
Go to Lincoln's house, and then
every one of them I think is Lincoln's house.
All right,
there's a lot of plaques.
He lived everywhere.
Yeah, stayed in every hotel. Yeah, it was fun to like hang out with Marika and Aaron, and we spent a lot of time talking about how to get esters out of sourdough starters, which I feel like there's I try to be a very authentic and real producer of beers, and then you stand next to them and you're like, I am a hack. I was like standing next to them being like, well, here's my Paw beer, and then they had a Paw beer on where I'm like, oh, they just like walked outside and picked these off the ground. And I'm like, I had to like get them from a farm that was not in my backyard. Yeah. And they're still local and all that stuff. But I'm like, man, I am a hack compared to these people trying to do what we're doing, and their beers are fantastic. So
yeah, well, your beers are fantastic as well.
Oh, thank you so
much. You're not a hack. There you go.
That's what I was fishing for.
Exactly.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's called a callback.
Yeah, right.
Sucking up. Yeah, that's the suck up callback. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah, it's always fun. It was Aaron or Marika?
Both.
Oh,
Both
awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was.
I feel like on this show, at least, Marika doesn't get enough play because she does most of the brewing, if not like almost all the brewing, and she's phenomenal and
amazing.
Yeah, she's great.
And their beers are fantastic.
Yeah. If you ever want to get on Marcus' sweet side, for anyone who's visiting Scratch, if you've got an interesting bottle of Highland Park whiskey, she's got a soft spot for it. Just gonna say. Yeah.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm. She likes single malts.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So
Lovely people.
very, very lovely people. Yeah.
What's new with you?
What is new with me? Lots is new.
Lots is new.
Lots is new. The construction of the restaurant is happening.
The kitchen.
Yeah.
We're in the restaurant, baby.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's all about state of mind.
The kitchen.
Yeah.
The kitchen. Yeah.
And you're excited
that's
for
happening.
it. Not trepidatious in any way.
I'm no longer waking up every night at between 3 and 5 a.m. terrified. Well, that's a good sign.
That's great. That's big.
That's
a
huge
big
for
step.
me. For me, that is huge.
You're not waking up terrified because of the kitchen? Or
Yeah.
You're not waking up terrified at
Oh, no.
all betwing 3 and 5?
Both. It will shortly.
go.
It'll shortly come back. I'm sure. I mean, it'll come back. I know it will.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take the win.
Do you really own a business if you don't wake up at least a couple nights a week being like, oh, I ruined this
Oh
thing?
my goodness. I didn't used to. Maybe it's my age. I don't know, man. So yeah, the kitchen is getting real, and yeah, so that's new with me, and talking about our 10-year anniversary. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty, which I actually really enjoy thinking about, like, do we need porta potties? Like, stuff like that, which sounds ridiculous, but it's like I want people to have a really good time. And the crew that we have a guest sitting in whom I'll introduce in a moment.
Nice.
But we've gotten pretty good. This person in particular and I feel have gotten pretty good at, like, thinking through the logistics of, like, what do we need to do and planning for it. So I do enjoy thinking about all that stuff and then seeing it usually hopefully go 90+% as I hoped, or within, a couple standard deviations, maybe is a way of thinking of it. Okay. We can be within one standard deviation of how we hope it goes, and that's good.
Yeah.
So starting to do that more. A lot of work to do. But even, like, who do we want to have run this thing? So that's kind of fun, too. Like,
Run your 10th anniversary.
yeah, are the employees going to run it?
Or
are we going to do the Kevin Carey and give all the employees off? I mean, he set a pretty high bar.
That was quite the party.
That was beyond a party, by the way. He had mentioned it here on the show.
It transcended into vibe.
It transcended into one of the biggest, like, beer events of the year in Chicago, which is hard to do.
I mean, just by attendance, it was one of the biggest beer events, not just of the year, but period in Chicago. Like, that's, like, in a long time. Like, I mean, it's not
Well,
FOBAB
it's no
or something
FOBAB.
like that,
It's no
but, like,
FOBAB, and there's
it's an international event, though. Like, there's, like...
true, but there's
This
other...
isn't just like, hey, it's our birthday.
There's, like, the Soldier Field one. There's the one that used to happen at the
sure,
train
sure.
station. There's some of those big
I don't
ones.
go to any of those, so I don't know.
Right. But it was big. I mean, that transcended into... That became a beer fest, I think. I think it was a small beer fest.
Yeah. I remember him telling me
yeah.
how many people they were trying to get to it, and I was like, okay.
And it was in an amazing space.
Yep.
I mean, me and your boy Dusty Capron were trying to figure out the pricing of what that space must have cost, and
Wasn't cheap, I don't think.
I mean, it was just how far into the 5 figures did we think it cost? We thought. So it's like, and then I was like, well, ours is going to be in our parking lot. But that's pretty cool.
And then you have to rent that thing for like $20,000.
Exactly.
Gallo drives a hard bargain.
He does. Gallo Square don't come cheap.
Businessman.
Right. Gotta pay off the lamp store guy
Right.
so he doesn't complain.
Right. Well, you get to rent everything except the one parking spot that says this is for lamp
Reserved.
parking only.
Right.
Why we're doing it on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Save money.
Exactly. Which is actually true.
That one spot's $10,000 alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless you have a compact car.
Right. So we should probably introduce our guest because I'll just keep talking forever. Why don't you introduce him?
He's everyone's top, probably 10 employee at Beer Temple. I've never seen him wear a color other than black. Yep.
Oh,
Checks out.
I've seen it. I
There
think
are
on one hand I can count.
Laundry day.
He's got one other color that he wears other than black. What color do you think that is?
Green.
No.
Blue.
Nope.
Darker black.
Yellow.
Yellow.
He wears yellow. So if he's
Okay.
not wearing black, he's wearing yellow, which
real,
is not
real Jack White, 2016 vibe there.
right.
Bumblebee style.
Anyway.
It's Max.
Hi.
Max Pelletier, the beer buyer extraordinaire.
Yeah. Draft master of what's your team?
Oh,
Are you team
that's
Smooge?
a great question.
No, I wasn't Smooge. I was
You're not
Or are you
420 North.
420 North?
No, that's
No,
Eric.
that's Eric.
was I?
You're Sierra
Y.
Nevada.
Stefan.
That's me.
That's you. There's only one left.
So there's only one left.
and it's
So
the
it
most
has to be
forgettable name.
yours. It has to be yours.
Apparently,
then.
it's the most forgettable.
I don't remember.
Anyway, that's
Putting me
your
on the
team.
spot,
You're the
yeah.
GM for that team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
lost.
pretty sad that you don't know the name of your
Well,
own
I came
team
like-
that you're the GM for.
can't-
I came like last place on the last one, so I need to rebrand.
You
That's
gotta learn
why.
to pander like your boy Mike.
Yeah, I tried to pander, but pander in the wrong direction. The listeners don't appreciate, beer barrel time and stuff like that.
What would
so.
you know about what people want to
That's
drink?
right. That's a good way to pander to them. Tell them that they don't understand. You don't get it. Your palate's not sophisticated enough.
And thus is the ethos of the beer buying at Beer Temple.
Exactly. Great.
Hey, if
How have you been, man? What's new with you?
good. In beer related news, and I went to a monster truck jam on Sunday.
Oh, nice. Did
was
you see
good.
Gravedigger?
Wait,
Yeah.
in beer-related news, I went to a monster truck jam on
I
Sunday.
drank
Where
a
do you
beer.
get,
I
are they
drank a
drinking more
beer.
beer there or here? Come
No,
on.
no. I got to drink a Coors Light for the first time in probably like half a decade. I paid.
Really?
Cold? Was it cold?
Yeah,
Probably was fucking
How did you know it was cold?
it felt cold.
Oh.
Well, I could see the Rocky Mountain. Yeah.
There
Were they
you
blue?
go.
Yeah.
The Rocky Mountains felt cold.
A cheap $19 for a 24-ounce can.
Oh.
It felt like I was living the experience of.
Yeah, it is like
was
beer
it-
barrel time. You're paying, almost $1 an ounce,
Was it at Allstate?
Yeah.
Did you go to Chili's beforehand? or
We
afterwards?
were thinking about going to TGI Friday or Red Lobster afterwards, but we cut it short and so went
Got to
back
go
the city.
Fridays.
There's a
Red
Chili's
Lobster
walking distance.
Oh yeah,
so hard.
But can
You
you
know-
imagine how busy a Chili's would be just after that? Like it's like
Yo,
a 5 feet.
I
away.
can. I've been, baby.
Yeah. Post monster truck Chili's.
You drink a couple gross margaritas at a Chili's after your Monster Jam. It's
I want to barf. Just listening
you
to
drink
you say
some,
that.
get some Southwest egg rolls in you. You'll feel like the worst you've ever felt in your
Those-
life.
I know those margaritas with they must use sour mix, but it's probably like
not
extra with extra
Dude,
simple
it's-
add.
Yeah.
It's
Not-
good.
I was hoping
It's
for
not good.
we didn't get to, but I was hoping
Well-
TGI Friday because I got all those like weird blue, like
yeah.
neon
Ooh, you got it.
cocktails.
You got
Yeah,
to do
like a
that.
zombie or something.
Yeah, they have like zombie, but it's like probably not a single real piece of fruit in the entire thing, or real booze or anything.
Only zombies that I consume.
Or Dusty.
Dusty.
Yeah, dusty.
Dusty
Last time I
boys.
went to a Monster Jam, it was on a Monday to save a little scratch, cheaper than the Saturday, Sunday tickets. But Monday, also, $1 Marg night at Chili's. So,
$1 margaritas.
Woohoo!
you know it, baby.
What?
Was this
year
in like
was that?
1974?
Yeah, come on.
No, yeah, it's 1974. No, it was like 20. It was pre-pandemic, so inflation wasn't quite what it was. Eggs were only about 50 cents, but
Right.
yeah, it's probably 2018. Went to Monster
$1
Jam.
margaritas.
$1 margs. I don't think there was that much alcohol in them.
Couldn't
Still.
have been.
And I remember,
$1.
Yeah.
I remember like 25-cent beer Wednesdays back in Ohio, but like,
$1 margs, baby.
dollar margs. I have not heard
Yeah. Watch-
deals like that in a while.
When you see Gravedigger tear it up a little bit, you go drink a couple $1 margs, and then you take a $45 Uber back to to your apartment. You're living, baby.
Right.
Although I saw probably the best name of any monster truck. I think they're all fake names. They have to all be fake names.
Of the drivers?
Yeah. The one driver's name was Chad Tingler.
That's a great name.
No, that's a real name, but that's someone who was born right after the Bush election in 2000.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, guy. That's an angry
hanging Chad.
Actually, they're probably happy about it. Anyway,
I
don't think there's a lot of.
Let's get back into beer real quick. Here's one quick thing. I don't want to talk about it too much, but so my daughter's been very into pro wrestling, and it was her first pay-per-view because all they do basically every week it's just an ad for the pay-per-view, like when I see you at Revolution on March 5th.
Yeah.
So to her, she didn't understand that it's going to cost $50 to watch this thing, but she's like, well, what are you talking about? Like, all the storylines have been leading this. We have to get it.
She said storylines?
Well, no, but like this person and that person are going to wrestle. So it was in San Francisco, and they were showing shots of the screen, of the crowd, rather, and saw a couple people drinking, I think it was Tall Boys of Trumer in can.
Woo,
like, all right, there we
go.
Cool. There we go. Yeah, I was
The
like,
drink
all right.
of wrestling.
Your influence knows no bounds.
Exactly. Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So anyway, I'll be waiting for the thank you email that has not yet come from Trumer.
Do you think they would have had Tall Boys of Trumer at the pay-per-view event if it didn't win Best Lager in the Beer Temple Lager Taste-Off?
Yeah. No, I can't imagine it would have.
Not a chance in the world. They went to that arena and said, you ever heard of Beer Temple?
Yeah. And they're like, yes, done.
Yeah.
We'll buy it all.
All of it, please.
Why can't we get fucking Tall Boys of Trumer?
I mean, would you bring them in?
I mean, honestly, I think
I would buy them.
No, you wouldn't. You would
Absolutely.
here's the
The
thing.
only 12-pack of anything I buy is Trumer.
But a 12-pack's like $15. So like if it was like 4 Tall Boys for what? $8?
Every day.
That would be just like a
Not
weeknight.
tall. Yeah, right.
That's a weeknight purchase. That's a Tuesday.
We'll see. Interesting. Maybe we'll
you
see if it
you
can,
should tweet
if
at
it can
them.
happen. Yeah.
Why can't we get any of this in here?
Yeah. Come on. What's the deal?
Maybe our rep's not good enough.
Also, hey, I mean, it's those cans. It was good branding. Good. So hey,
There it is.
yeah. What else? We sometimes talk about beers that we've had lately with guests. I had a very special beer on Friday. Bob Egan saw the
Best.
yeah, all time. Saw the Is It Dead Instagram stuff that we do, which for those of you who may not know, Max here and I and some of the others will do these little Instagram things, and then if they ever get popular, we immediately stop doing it. That's kind of our it's a very unspoken rule.
Pressure's too much, man.
Yeah, I love those things. Good, we'll never do it again.
It's a lot scarcity, okay?
Yes, but we started the most recent one is It Dead, which is some people think we think through these things like what will be good and bad. This is literally us
Joke's
just
on
being
you.
like, we have all this dead beer. Let's just open these things and see if they're any good. And Bob said, I've got a beer that I'm curious to see if it's any dead. It's the OG Rare 2010 Goose Island Rare.
Oh, dang.
So he brought it by. I was expecting it to taste still pretty solid, maybe a glimmer. You could kind of see a glimmer of it. And it blew me off my feet. It was
undead.
So undead. Wow. I mean, I feel like it could have easily gone another 12 and a half years old. I mean, it tasted like it could have, in 10 more years, I'd be like, okay, at the rate it's going.
Right.
Be like, yeah, I mean, it's definitely got some age on it. It's still, it tastes, my guess is in 10 years, the way I was expecting it to taste now. His bottle, anyway. I've had a bottle that didn't taste quite as good, and I've read that people said, oh, it's dead. So it's very much, when you age a beer that long, it's, I think, bottled to bottle. But
and it's how did you age it?
He said he's moved it a couple times, and it's like, I don't think he had it in a hyperbaric chamber or anything like that. It was
Not Nate Nelson.
one so not dead. 2, so delicious. And immediately, well, I was tasting it, and then I just, so not immediately, but very quickly realized, like, this is like the type of barrel-aged beer that I used to really, really love, and I used to consider BCS my favorite beer in the world, and it was that it brought me back to it, which is hard to believe. But, man, they tasted so different. Max had some of it. I'm curious what he feels about that beer. I let him taste it first. I didn't tell him what it was. So, very different situation than seeing the beer and then tasting it. I mean, it's 2 totally different things. Both valid, I feel.
Yeah.
But
I was kind of confused when I first had it. I, off the bat, didn't think it was that old, first off. But, like, the flavor profile was so unlike... It was obviously a barrel-aged beer. Very obviously. But, like, it didn't taste like anything I had recently. Like, it actually had some...
In what way?
It was drier. More roast, more bitterness, less sweet.
Thinner?
But like
Thinner?
Yeah, thinner. But not in a bad way.
no.
I mean, and the barrel characteristic, like, it was front and center. Like, it wasn't, like, it was a showcase to it almost. So, I don't know. It just felt more... like whole in terms of like all the aspects of the beer. It wasn't just like trying not to throw too much shade on modern barrel aged beers, but like it tasted like I could drink like hell. You give me a 12 ounce of that, I'd drink that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
I could
like-
have split half that bottle easy.
Yeah,
I could have taken 12 ounces.
and I cannot say that
not
for
a problem.
basically any other barrel aged stout that I've had.
I have
recently.
Hunapoo right here. I couldn't drink 12 ounces.
I took a
of it.
pretty long break from basically anything barrel aged, and this weekend I had a bunch of stuff because people were like, we're doing bottle shares in Springfield, and so much of it was just like, this is just sugar. Like this
Yeah.
is even the stuff that had like adjuncts in it that was a little old. It's like this is just
I think you would
sugar
have loved
with a little
this.
bourbon in it. Like
Jonathan.
it's an old fashioned's delicious, but like
Sure.
it's not, doesn't take. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
It's not my jam.
And it feels like maybe I you know, it's hard to remember, you know, exact flavors, but I seem to remember like 2015 with Bourbon County was the first year where it started to like really honestly start skewing.
Yeah,
sweet.
I was going to say maybe a year earlier, but I'm right with you. Like 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
That was the first vanilla year, or like not the first vanilla year.
2010 was the first vanilla year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even 2013, I remember thinking like, oh, this thing's ready to go like right now. Like I don't know if it's going to get much better. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing in a way. Yeah.
A beer that I actually had that I thought was in that realm that I was like, this kind of feels like a swing back to old school is I had this year's Parabola actually. And that very much does have a lot more of that like bitter aspect to it. A lot of like, it's aggressive. It's thinner. And historically, you go back 10 years and have a Parabola, and it feels like a much bigger beer in comparison. But this feels much more reserved, but just way more contained. It reminds me a little bit of like kind of not as good. No hate on Firestone Walker, but like it wasn't as good as like the Rare, but like it definitely was closer to that than almost any other barrel aged beer I've had in a very long time.
Yeah, I'd like to have some Parabola now just to try it.
Yeah.
I mean the beer, the stout was definitely there. It was so boozy,
Yeah.
which I loved. I loved the spirit character of it, and I felt like people now are almost like it's almost, I don't know, like dog breeding or something, where they're like getting these caricature flavors out of the barrel, you know, like
Sure.
there's so much maple and so much vanillin coming out of these barrels now that they just like the barrel, those flavors that come out of the oak are just like hitting you over the head. I don't know how, you know, the barrels are probably the same. I don't know what they're doing.
If anything, the barrels are worse actually,
Right. So, I mean,
or they're younger. Worse is
right.
more of an opinion.
This was also a 23-year barrel.
Right.
So, you know, there's that. But boy, oh boy, so good. And Jonathan Fritz of Hopewell came in, and I kind of he was working, and I kind of come here. I waved him over, and I said, "Hey, you want to try some of this?" And he's like, "Sure." And he was standing at we were sitting, and he was kind of standing at the end of the table, and we were in in a booth. And he drank it, and he's like, "Oh, this is good." And he's like, "Oh," and then he's like, "This is really," and then he quickly sat down with us in the booth. He's like, "This is really good," and then we all just kind of geeked out on this beer for 10 solid minutes.
That's awesome.
And he kept top. I mean, the three of us, if we didn't feel beholden or just realistically we should share. There's so many people in this room that would appreciate it. I would have easily killed that entire bottle. And I do not get like that with beer too often. Just completely shattered my expectations. So how often does that happen? It's great.
Very rare.
Very rare.
I also think that
nice.
beer, I mean, I haven't had a rare in ages. We had a 2015 rare open up at the bar because we have that at the moment, but
Tastes good. Good beer.
tastes good. But I haven't. It was so unique of a profile and just stood out so much.
That's awesome.
It feels weird that beer, and the thing is, I went into it thinking this is going to be meh, it'll be fine.
Yep, that's
at
what
this
I thought
point
too.
in time, I think Chris is the same realm as me, where it's we've had so much beer in our life, where it's so much variety of hyped up stuff that you just assume it's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you actually get something that is so elevated, it just is wild, especially for something like that, where it's people put it as a huge beer on a great pedestal, but it is. It really is. It honestly deserves it.
Yeah, one cool thing that we haven't put it out yet is I did video when we opened it and tried it for the very first time. So when me and Bob were just sitting there, I had to do it very quickly because I'm like, all right, we got to do this in 3 minutes or less. I haven't looked at it at the video yet, but it's cool. So we get to share with everyone what it was like to try it. Now, in a weird way, I didn't start getting it took maybe longer than the initial 2 minutes to really appreciate how insane that beer was. But I'm excited to kind of put that out there too, to kind of share with people holy crap, this beer is really special. So, and what more could you ask for? Especially since I was expecting it to be taste like a 12, 13-year-old beer.
Yeah.
It was from 2010.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That was, I think it's a year I was allowed to drink.
Jesus. I mean, it's tasting so good.
No,
one of the only
it's not.
beers I've ever... 2010.
No,
It was
is.
13 years ago?
I was born in 1989.
Oh, okay, I don't know. I thought you were a couple years older than me. Whatever. Same
Yeah.
as me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I stood in line for that beer. I bought the max, which I think was 8 bottles of it. It was so much. I told my coworkers how much I just spent. They thought it was insane.
Well, was that the original Black Friday?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that was the first one. And one of the only times I think I've stood in line for a release on purpose that I can think of once.
Purpose.
Well, one time I went to Victory, and they had Dark Storm being released, and I showed up just to get beer, and there was a line there.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, and I got in the line.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. I've had situations like that happen.
yeah. So,
Wasn't a lot.
but rare, I was like, oh, I'm getting there early. I'm getting in line for this beer. Could have bought a whole bunch of vanilla and coffee at that time too. And was like, meh, I don't. What's this adjunct stuff?
So that's a passive call to anyone out there who has a vanilla and coffee from 2010. We got to do that.
Well, I've told you the story.
We got to get it. Is it dead?
A couple months later, I was at the map room and I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, have you had the coffee?" I was like, "No." They're like, "Oh, it's amazing. You have to try it." I was like, "Huh?" And we're like, well, they have some right here. It was in bombers, so we ordered a bomber of it, and it was one of the most amazing things I had ever drank in my life. And we sat there for hours, and I drank every single bottle of coffee that they had. We just started like texting people, and eventually there was like 10 people, and we were just crushing BCS Coffee 2010 because I just could not get over anything like that. Someone's sharing a photo. What is that?
It's a
Pretty sure we have a bottle of 2010 coffee in the basement.
No way. No
Say
way.
2010 or 2012, something like that.
Yeah, 20. There's no way we'd have
Maybe
2010.
Chris would have drank it secretly by now.
I don't know about that.
How would we have it? The store wasn't even open. How would I have,
Well,
that bottle?
in the
Yeah.
not here,
All right. Well,
next door.
it's a bomber?
Yeah,
Well, maybe it's good. We'll see.
So
So we've gone way, way, way too long on that. But boy, oh boy, was that a just special bottle of beer to be opened up. So thank you so much to Bob Egan for bringing that by.
The best.
The best. Little side note that I always forget to mention to people is our counter in the retail shop is made from Bourbon County Rare / King Henry / Pappy 23 barrels. So it's like made out of barrel staves that was like deconstructed and then made into a shape of a like checkout counter, and it's those barrels.
So you should like probably reconstitute those into a barrel and then
sell it,
make it for your 10th anniversary.
and sell it for a lot of money.
You should barrel age the IPA you're making with
Yes.
who is it again?
Beechwood.
Beechwood, yeah. Barrel age that IPA really jack the value up.
It's true. We should. All right.
If you knew business, you'd be
What I could do, just like hold it underneath it, just run it over the top of it.
yeah.
So yeah,
Sure.
that's cool. Man, so that's the beer I've had lately that was meaningful and impactful and special to me.
Nice.
I'm going to San Diego in a week. Well, actually California, but I'll start in San Diego. So I'm very much looking forward to that too. I wanna check out the cutting edge of this new guard of West Coast IPA that I hear so much about.
Where are you going?
Everywhere, baby. No,
Name 'em.
I don't know. I mean, all the places at Matt Brynel. We did this off air with our episode with Matt Brynelson. We sat and talked to him afterwards, and I just kind of peppered him with places to go to. So I think
Where did he tell you?
North Park,
Yep.
Rip. Those are the two. I'm going to go to McElhenney or McElhenney, whatever, the old Alpine place for sure. I'm going. Niall from Mad Fritz is going to take me around Napa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's super cool. He offered to do that. Pure Project offered to meet up, and maybe we'll tour San Diego a little bit, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, going to go to Trumer, taste some unfiltered pills, which is cool. Maybe we might be getting some of that in for our anniversary party.
Bring back some 19.2s, maybe.
Oh.
Tall boys.
Now, here's a
For
question.
your boys.
I'm going to bring out some beer because I'm checking a bag. I figured I haven't done it in forever. I should probably get back to trying to bring people some beer. That's the thing I used to do. I stopped doing it because checking bags sucks. But what's a appropriate beer to bring to places out in California from this part of the country?
I mean, they can't get was out there, so
No.
it's maybe a few cases of that, and then call it a day.
Just a couple
Okay.
cases.
Fatheads, obviously. I'll be
Fatheads.
running to Ohio
Yeah,
real
take
quick.
a quick
No.
trip to Ohio.
I was thinking New Glarus,
New
honestly. I was thinking
Glarus.
like running up to Mars Cheese Castle this weekend and getting just a bunch of like New Glarus.
I think that'd be fun.
Bring them some.
Yeah.
Is Half Acre out there?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes, they definitely do send some.
I had a Bodum today.
stuff
That was
on the
tasting
West
really
Coast.
nice. And it's one of those things of like, they make it's good beer. Goldfinger's making some great lager. Bring them some of that.
Floyd's.
Floyd's.
Yeah, you got the Zombo.
The icy
The Zomboni.
The Zomboni.
The Zomboni.
I still haven't had it.
I was
I'm
talking
saving it
to
for a specific guest that's coming up.
I was talking to someone, and we were talking about like what a slam dunk marketing play that would be for Three Floyds. It would be. It's just a natural relationship
with the wrong distributor for that.
To sponsor the Zamboni for the Blackhawks because it's on the ice.
Yeah.
And call it the Zamboni.
Wrong distributor.
You don't think Nick Floyd would go for that?
He would definitely go for that.
Oh, you think so? I thought he wouldn't.
I don't think the other side would.
Yeah, the Zamboni. So now I'm calling them Zambonis.
I would. They should sponsor all of the street sweepers in Chicago.
Yes.
That's even better.
Zambonis.
Yeah.
Just have like this dead skull, like White Walker looking thing.
Yeah.
Have you had the Zamboni yet?
I said no.
Zombo?
I haven't. I'm saving my first taste for a live on air
Save
experience.
yourself.
With a friend of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So if anyone ever offers it to you, you have to say no. I'm saving myself.
There's only one for me.
I had it. I whored myself out to it, and it's good. I liked it. I don't think Max was as big a fan as me, but
I got thrown under the bus right here.
I think you were. I think you guys were all saying it was fine. I know Brian here said he was. The way he put it was he was whelmed by
Such
it.
a beer temple response to
I mean, I got a very beer temple response also. I think that it like is going to absolutely destroy like price point, what it is. Like it'll fly. It'll like absolutely fly. But like I don't know. It didn't quite.
What did you want it to do, and what didn't it do?
It didn't honestly feel like a bigger zombie dust in a way.
I think I like that.
Feel like
You want it to be
What
big,
did it
you want it
feel
to be
like to you?
hefty zombie dust,
a little bit.
a thick boy.
What did it
Not
taste like
thick.
to you?
No, I think that
You want it to be hazy. You want it to have lactose in it.
Yeah.
I think that I think my main critiques of it were from the few times I had it was like the body felt thinned out compared to normal zombie dust, which seems odd being that it was like
A percent
2%,
higher,
2%
higher. Yeah.
and it didn't have like a tail end. It didn't have a residual like flavor profile that like stuck with you.
That's what you
Like the
said when we had
aftertaste.
it the first
Yeah,
day. You were
it
saying it
feels-
kind of died on your palate.
Too drinkable in a way because of that, where it's like if you're looking to sell volume of a 8.5%, nailed it.
Is it
But
8.5?
for- yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's
Which is
8.5.
why, like,
oh my goodness.
For something that big, I want it to like stick on the palate. I want it to like have some like longevity where it's like you feel you can sit with it. Whereas with that, I feel like I need to go back to another drink.
No, it's a crusher, and
Yeah.
you could easily drink two of them.
Which is why I'm like, it's not for me.
Very
I
That
think
sounds
it's-
pretty
it
good,
is-
actually.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like that's the thing. It's too drinkable, which I know is a very like
That's
odd
the
thing to
dumbest
say.
critique
I
I've
know,
ever
I know.
heard.
But
It
like,
makes me
down
want.
too
It makes me want
easy.
to have it more.
but it's like it's. I need to wake up the next day, that sort of situation. So it's like obviously
That's up to you, dude.
to wake up the next day.
Make up undead.
Yeah, no, and like
Yeah,
I,
man.
like I said, I think that it really does fit exactly what they're going for. It does a great job of it, but it doesn't feel like an enjoyable drinking experience because I feel like almost palate-wise
Wait.
pressured.
You
to drink.
just said it was too drinkable, and now
Well,
it's not
no,
an enjoyable
no,
drinking
no.
experience.
because you feel almost like pressured to drink more of it because of how it like fades off so quickly.
I just
You think it's
maybe he's saying
pressuring you?
it didn't have that je ne sais quoi. It just didn't. It just didn't do it for him.
Didn't hit
No,
him.
like-
Didn't hit.
Fair.
Didn't hit for him. I think it's sometimes hard to put into
It's hard
words.
to,
Totally.
yeah. I mean, I just want a more full
You know it when you
like
see it.
full like
Taste it.
breath experience as opposed to something that is run short where you have to like drink yourself to do more of it.
I mean, I think to me it's better than 9/10 of the new IPAs that we get tasted on week in week out. I mean, if it
Oh,
didn't say zombie ice, I think
You would
it'd be
rate
like-
higher in Max's opinion if it didn't say zombie ice.
I think Max is a hater, is what I'm saying. He's a hater. We all know it here internally. I'll just say it
Right.
now on the air. He's a hater.
Big time hater.
He's a hater.
Max doesn't even drink beer.
No, that's
Danny
the
Pretty
thing.
Young are
Never
beer
has.
buyers. He only
Never
drinks
has.
Sprite.
He just looks. He smells it, and then that's what it's too drinkable based on that.
I'm
Is what he
the
says.
Phantom of Danny Phantom of the U.S.
That's right.
Danny Phantom, my
Yeah.
boy.
Prino.
This is my boy Danny Phantom.
Danny Phantom.
Yeah, you know him. Yes.
You're gonna drink that beer? Should be having a Sprite.
Exactly.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh, it was a good beer. It was a good beer, but it wasn't to my preference.
So can we take a quick break? I want to go get some water
Sure.
because this Hunapu isn't too drinkable. I would like to get some water, and then we can do a follow up on last week's show if that's cool with the the tweet that kept on giving, so to speak. All right.
And we're back. Welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Quinn, Serge, the Fade Master, and Max Pelletier, beer buyer extraordinaire for Beer Temple.
Hey. Hey-o.
And
Man,
we're
guests never get a clap. Wow.
Ooh,
Wow.
a real clap.
And everyone else, you take note of that. Serge did not care about you.
It's not that he cared about me, but he just doesn't care about you.
Yeah, right.
Oh, there's a bottle
So-
of 2010 coffee here.
Wonder where that was.
Interesting. I guess I do have one. We do
I
have
found
one.
it across the street at Trespasados.
He ran. Yeah, he was trying to try to set it was collecting
Can I
dust.
see that?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about something that affected the two of you last week and may still be affecting both of you. It didn't affect me really at all, but Twitter. Twitter's quite an interesting way to communicate with a lot of people, including one of your largest suppliers of beer.
The largest beer distributor in the country.
One of the top 10 private companies in the country.
Yeah.
So last time we talked about
I heard the tweet made its way up to the CEO of the beer division of Reyes.
because they
like me so much.
I'm gonna let you kind of steer this because I don't know what
We already talked
what
about
you
it, so I don't
wanna,
want to.
like,
I don't
fully
want to
talk about.
spend. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. But I do want to say that after so I sent out the tweet on the day that we recorded this show last week,
Yeah.
and as of right now, I have not put out that show yet. I am a little bit apprehensive about putting that show out now, but
There's
I will.
only been one show that we've recorded that hasn't gone out, right?
Correct.
And that was because it didn't get recorded.
No. There was another.
Oh, we've had a redacted show.
Yes, we have had one redacted show, which I've never really talked about. But there is one redacted
You
show.
confessed your love for hazy IPAs. And
Exactly.
you're just like, I have a persona to keep up.
Exactly. That was the one. So, I won't. No, I'm not going to redact this show. That next show. No, never. But, so.
Sounded like you were thinking
I had
about it.
No, not at all. Not at all. But, yeah, man. So, well, you were here, right, Max, when they showed up?
At both times.
Oh,
Well, the initial one and then the follow-up where it had the additional
Yeah.
higher-ranking person.
so
You can feel the actual specifics. That
yeah. So
one
big
small
wigs.
thing.
So, like, C-level employees of Reyes showed up here to
Sea level. Yeah, I don't know if he's
chiefs of things, presidents, chiefs, vice
yeah,
presidents.
like that high. I mean, it was
C-suite
the
executives.
boss's boss of the rep.
Right.
Showed up.
He was priorly in multiple states away, just one day prior.
So you ruined that guy's day.
Oh, he was coming to Chicago regardless, but it was just he landed in Chicago, came here.
Yeah, he's probably like a C or VP or it's so hard when they get so big. Sometimes VP means a lot. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
This dude's a big swinging dick at Reyes for sure.
BSD.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Doug and I mentioned it to Eric, and both of them were like, "Holy shit!" Blank showed up. That's what they both said.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, they were here for like 2 hours and talked. Learned a lot of interesting things that I guess make sense, which is kind of cool. That's kind of aside from what we were talking about, that specifically about the tweet, but it's hard to say. Like, they weren't there to browbeat me either. I think they were there to say, what are your concerns? How can we, show in good faith that you shouldn't be concerned about this? And, this is what, let's talk about it. What are you upset about?
Did you believe them? Or was it just to get you to, not talk about it anymore? Do you believe that they're going to, change the way that they handle your account?
Do I believe that they're going
You don't
to
have to answer
change? No, I don't think I think they're going to change.
Specifically how they handle your account. Now they're going to change the way they approach craft beer.
Yeah, I think they're going to change how they handle our account.
Okay.
I think so. They already have. I think they're using it with kid gloves to some extent. I do think that it got blown way out of proportion. Mm-hmm. Max, don't wait for me to, just speak whenever you feel like it and stay quiet whenever you feel like it. But, Max knows more than anyone how this thing started, which was, I'm sure as he knows, me just being a jerk, waiting to get the oil changed in the van. I think I said last week, being frustrated at what I perceived as his and Steven's frustration, and going to Twitter for the first time in 3 years and deciding to, say something about it.
I think it was a 100% correct frustration. There might have been a certain verbiage that could have been more eloquently put.
Which was what?
Well, I would say it's more to not get too much in the nitty gritty of it. I mentioned it to you before, but it's hard to call out a corporation like that while also not have victims off to the side where you don't intend to that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I threw the new guy under the bus, hard, big time.
Yeah, the new guy got
and
under the bus.
I met him today, and I was like, hey man, sorry I threw you under the bus. I think is basically what I said to him.
To be fair to him, you used quotes in that tweet where those quotes didn't actually come from him.
No.
Yeah.
No, those quotes didn't come from him, but they weren't attributed to him either.
Right.
That was a quote. That was a quote. I'm not going to say who that quote was from, but that was a quote.
I think he caught some shrapnel because they probably were like, why did you, they see that and they think he said that.
Sure, but
fire up, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Because when we were talking about last week, I'm like, why would he catch any shit for this? You put out a tweet that has nothing to do with him. Actually, in some ways, it's praising him.
Well, what I was getting at
But
a few moments ago was that I think a lot of people just get riled up, and because their boss is riled up, they have to react to it. I did get a feeling for that. To me, it almost... I'm curious if some of the people, if the person above them hadn't been riled, would have been fine just letting it go.
Sure.
I didn't maybe get that vibe, maybe? We had a very frank conversation. What are your concerns? What are the things that we need to make sure to do? What are the things that you're looking for this rep to do? How can we help? If you're not getting it, here's what you should do about it. Here's the realities of bringing in new SKUs. We're very happy to bring in new SKUs, stuff like that.
I gave a little squint at that one.
Sure.
I don't think they are.
Right. So, we talked about it for a long time. What am I going to say? They gave me specific scenarios, what to do, what the realities of them bringing in SKUs means, which is if it's a smaller contributor in their book, they don't care that they're not selling a lot of it, but it has to make sense to bring it in at a certain batch. So is that going to be one pallet? Is it going to be 2 pallets? If it's a bigger thing, they got to wait for an entire truck. How often are the trucks coming in? How much space in that truck can it take up? How long is that supposed to live? And then over the course of that time period, they have to sell it all without it. They don't want to end up throwing away beer.
Sure.
They don't want to bring in 3 months worth and have it go for 2 weeks and then just throw it away and then expect someone to re-up in 3 weeks when it's fresh again.
Sure. None of that was things you weren't aware
3
of
months
already.
Yeah,
the logistics of how much needs to be bought and what they're willing to do. We'll see. So now it's like, okay, if this happens, and we have to be proactive about it too. We have to say like, okay, this is something we want to bring in. Can we, like, what would it take to bring this in? This is what it'll take to bring that in. All right, that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. Now, if they say you need to order a truckload every time, then obviously they're not being genuine about it. But I don't think they were.
But I feel there's also like a level of, at least in prior times, a hard to gauge volume that would be worthwhile for them. Or like both sides, like the distributor and the brewery, be like, yeah, that sounds good. And then they're talking behind closed doors without us. And then it just doesn't happen.
Sure.
So like if they're more transparent with the volume they need to do and that sort of thing, then perhaps we'd have a more good idea on what we'd want to bring in from certain breweries or what we'd have the capacity.
Well, makes
And hey,
sense.
there was a beer that they came in again today. And we asked about a beer that we thought was probably had not come in a certain format in a year or more. And they said, no, it's probably going to be like less than, I think they said 60 days on it. Like, no, it'll be 60 days.
Yeah.
So we'll see tomorrow if it does, what it comes in as. We're like, no, it's fresh. It has been coming in fresh. It is still fresh. So.
Now I know what that is.
Right. You can find out after the fact.
All right.
I don't, because stuff like that, I don't know. I feel weird about calling things out too specifically like that. But what beer
I'll
it is
forget
not
by the
really
time we're
that
done with the
important.
podcast.
It's not really that important.
Yeah.
But,
It's Headhunter.
it is Headhunter. Yeah.
So we
So
order 2 trucks of
The
it.
whale.
now, a side thing that they were talking about was it's very interesting about how some brands have, their book has been kind of, it's huge between the two distributors, and some brands have wanted to leave, and they've said they've let them leave. No, I've heard. Who knows? I'm sure there's sometimes they don't want brands to leave too. I mean, that's what all the suppliers say, and there's definitely a lot of like. The suppliers are always the ones saying that they don't want us to bring in new SKUs, but what they don't tell you is, they say, yeah, we want you to bring in a new SKU, and you need to bring in a whole truckload. Like, that's the only way we want, and then we say, no, we don't want to bring in that much. We can't move that much, and then they push us to bring in more than we want, and then it doesn't sell, and it gets sold, and we don't bring it in anymore because they want us to, do stuff like that. And I'm sure there are conversations like that. We had some very specific conversations about specific SKUs that we all know that did really well and aren't doing as well right now, and how they put that on the supplier, And they're like...
That there wasn't enough support from the supplier to...
No, the supplier wanted us to shift to this SKU. This is where they wanted the focus to go on. And we were saying, this town likes this SKU.
Yeah.
If you push this direction, you're going to cannibalize this. Keep this going. This SKU is doing well. And they said no, and now they have neither. Stuff like that.
No, there's certainly some
That's interesting.
examples. Yeah, there's
Right.
certainly some examples, especially when it comes to like more classic examples, where it's like those breweries wanted to try to keep up with the Smiths and put out their IPAs, hazy IPAs, whatever. And some of their best beers that were always consistent sellers just were pushed off to the side. And it's like, oh, they'll always sell, that sort of mentality. And they didn't. And now they don't sell.
Right, and now they, said, well, why don't you take this classic beer off this handle and swap it in for our new one instead? And now that one can easily be swapped out for any other of that
Once you
same
swap it
style.
out, it's like,
And now they never get it back, and now they've lost the toehold, and now they're spending all this money and resources to go back, but they still want to do it this way, And I'm sure there is a lot of stuff that happens like that. The other thing they were talked about is how, sometimes brands say they want more attention within the book, and they go to a smaller distributor, and they were giving examples of how, they wanted out, we let them out, and now they are out of the Jewel set because who they moved to cannot facilitate every Jewel, let's say 2 deliveries a week to every Jewel in the city, which we can, and not many other places can.
I wasn't
that
here.
volume sounds wild. That
I wasn't
someone
here
would
for the
be like,
conversation.
we
I'm
need-
pretty sure I know which one you're referring to specifically for that.
So I don't know if it's like any. I think, but what they say is like CBS can be at every Jewel or Walgreens to make it even crazier.
Right.
You know, they can go to Jewel. They drop off a Jewel twice a week. You know, Tuesdays, Fridays, or whatever it is. You know, and there's other ones that probably struggle to get to all of them once a week and probably can't even do that.
Yeah.
So you can't be in the full set.
Right. Or they just don't have the muscle to like even stay in the set.
I think some were in the set and were taken off. Probably, I mean, they made it. They made it
because they can only get there
seem-
once a week.
or can't get to all of them.
Yeah.
There's certain distributors that like there's no way they're hitting up an account every single week generally, like,
Yeah,
and yet
I think they're hitting up Jewels. like I think any distributor can figure out how to hit up a Jewel every week. Get out of here.
hopefully,
okay. I mean, there's 100 of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot.
Sure.
I mean,
It's a lot. I mean, and it's all over all over Chicagoland and stuff like that. So, you know, and then you start getting Walgreens in there. So, I mean, that multiplies it times. So the
Sure.
point
but
being,
you're talking about a very small amount of breweries at that point.
well,
There's
I think if you think about it, there are some breweries that were in there when local and craft and they were still in there, and they've gotten pushed out of the set. And if you want to be in that consideration, you have to go with some of those bigger houses.
sure.
And even some of the bigger houses, like unless you're one of the big two, the Bud or the Miller House, some of those places might not want to really carry you unless they feel like they have to. Which is something to like, wow, there's still a lot of power in those big houses.
That's
you know?
the unspoken part of this, right?
Well,
Like,
but that's not
it's
necessary.
not. It's not because the other distributors can't drive to the Jewels.
No.
It's not because they can't.
No,
that's
I don't.
not.
I disagree. I don't think that's.
Okay.
I don't think that's all of it. I disagree.
You sound like a distributor shill now.
Oh, please. That you're joking about that. No. But to say, like, okay, so let's pick a smaller distributor. I'll pick 5 of them. You pick which one we'll go with. We'll go with Heartland, Oath, MSV, Maca, and Glun's.
But the people that are selling beer at Walgreens and Jewel as their largest percentage are not going to most of those places.
Okay, so how about this? Come
on.
There's Reyes and there's Lakeshore. You pick any other one.
Right.
Which one? Like, those are the 2 you can't pick. Which other one can
so
do it?
Maybe we're like, this is getting too deep into the specifics, but who is going from Reyes and saying, we're not a big enough part of your book, we still want to sell beer at Jewel and Walgreens, and we're going to MSV? There's not a single smart brewery in the
There have
world
been.
that
I
does
mean,
that.
there has
Well,
been.
maybe
MSV.
not MSV, but like yes, some of those.
Well,
are going to smaller books.
AleSmith was with Wendy, and
True,
now they're with
yeah.
MSV.
They were with Breakthrough. They were with
But
Breakthrough.
were
Breakthrough,
they were selling
Breakthrough.
beer at every Walgreens and every Jewel.
No. I was
They
saying they were
were-
in that book. I don't know if they
Yes.
were or what were,
They were in that book.
but I don't know what
that's-
placements they had.
Well, that's just on them. That's on AleSmith, and that's crazy.
They're also from San Diego. I mean,
There are
seems
certain
like they
other-
seem to be doing okay.
Unless we want to start like
Frankly.
naming names, there are certain breweries that have switched from
Yeah.
the Lakeshore Reyes catalog and gone to those smaller breweries.
You guys definitely know better than me. It just
Yeah.
seemed intuitively
And-
kind of bonkers.
And some of them are pretty decently sized. Like I would actually have.
Yeah.
I'm going to just look up a number, but with like so keep me out of this for a second. But like,
Yeah.
some of these guys are decently big when it comes to like Illinois distribution, and yet they've jumped off of these like major distributors because they feel like they want to be a centerpiece of a smaller distributor. But in doing so, they just lose a lot of like market value in doing so because they just can't. Because part of it is piggybacking on the big guys in a way.
Of course, but I feel like the breweries in that situation should know that.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
should know
yeah.
the,
I mean, I'm not-
the
for
power of that
for sure,
brewery.
100%.
So,
Sure.
Anyway,
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that the breweries, if they thought that they could just stay in those sets, were being naive or not. I'm not saying that it wasn't that I'm not getting the whole story. I'm just saying, that's something we talked about that I was like, okay, yeah. And then I've spoken with people after the fact, people very knowledgeable about distribution who seemed to corroborate it and even thought that people like Glenn's, which is the biggest non-Bud or Miller house, would have problems fulfilling those sets in this person's mind. And this person wasn't with Glenn's. He was just like, yeah, I think that Glenn's would have a problem doing that. And I was like, Glenn's doesn't have stuff in everyone. He's like, okay, maybe Jewel's a bad example, but I do think that like a buyer doing a whole set, like, because sometimes you have like for Walgreens, you have like a buyer.
Right.
Well, let's
but this isn't the problem of like the trucks getting to the stores. This is the problem of influence and the rest of the
Now,
set.
let me ask you, what makes you say that?
That I feel like Glenn's can get to the store. Like I know people that distribute through Glenn's who sell beer at most of the Jewels and the Marianos of the world, and they're in stock all the time. So
right. So I think Glenn's is the one that's on the fringe, I think. But what if you wanted to go?
I think if you want to go with one of those other distributors, you shouldn't think a pillar of your distribution is going to be going to the biggest box place. You go to a smaller distributor to get more hand sales at smaller places.
Well, I think of it another way also, where it's like growth-wise. Like, think of how Glenn's had Three Floyds and Great Lakes, and just at a certain point, you just have to push them off.
Dogfish Head and Rev.
Dogfish, Rev. And they got pushed off to other distributors because they just couldn't. They didn't have the capacity anymore. Their growth exceeded what their ability to distribute was. And so some of these breweries are trying to play it the other way, where it's like, we're a small dog in a big book. We want to be a big dog in a small
Bell's
book.
Bell's used to be Skokie Valley,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, man, I remember about Skokie Valley.
Well,
Right?
Skokie, there's a million years of
They were a PBR house, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it happens.
But
you know?
yeah, I mean, I looked up a brewery that has switched in the past couple of years from one of the Lakeshore Reyes and switched off to a small distributor, and they were like a 30,000 barrel a year. And I'm pretty sure this is the one that you were probably referencing earlier, which I wasn't involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
But like, I do not see them around the city at all anymore. I also, on the flip side of it, I don't see the reps. So
Right. I think we're talking about a different one, but it's
Maybe,
interesting.
maybe.
Yeah.
But like, there's certain breweries where it's like, it's tough nowadays because it's like, I feel some of the value that is seen in these smaller distributors is they're going to represent your brand better.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these smaller distributors have a lot on their books anyways.
Now they do.
Nowadays. And so, like, unless you have clout and can continue pushing it, like, you have to be active as a brewery, even in a small distributor.
That was always the Windy knock.
Right.
Windy was like the best craft distributor for the longest time, but they had a bazillion things in their book and they couldn't focus on any one because like, they were the only place that wanted the craft stuff at that time.
This Friday, we're sitting down with them, who is Reyes and CVS combined.
Yeah.
And they're going to go through the entire book with us because we don't know what they still carry. And and what they said is, I think it's going to be a lot more than you realize, that we haven't ditched a bunch of them. And so we'll see.
That's on them. You know,
but there was a moment last year
and
where
they're coming to go through it with us.
So
So,
there was a moment last
I mean,
year where I was like looking through their book or what's on their beer line, like literally their beer
Their
line,
website,
how you order it if you don't have a rep, or if you do have a rep, like to circumvent them. And I was looking at a lot of the breweries, like, is this brewery even in Chicago anymore? And I was sending emails to the breweries for a handful of these places, and they're like, yeah, we haven't been distributed in Chicago. We don't have a distributor in Chicago for the past 2 years. I was like, oh, neat.
So now it'll be
Of things
interesting
that were
if some
on-
of those.
That were still on the beer line.
So now it'll be interesting to see if this Friday they get pulled up as still active accounts.
Yeah,
It'll be
because there's
interesting
certain,
to see.
There are a few breweries from like I wish that we could have some level of connection with them and be able to bring stuff in. I mean, obviously you can't bring in like trucks and trucks worth, but there's value in them. If you can't bring in a few pallets, then you're doing a bad job. But also, like, there's
Right.
whatever.
Right.
But
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's some places that like you guys can do really well with
oh no,
a handful
I'm
of
taking
cases and some kegs, but
I
2 pallets of beer is a lot of beer.
half
It is a
barrel,
lot.
half barrels take up a lot of room pretty quickly. So
Sure, if you're talking half barrels. But.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
But
what you have
that's
to
still-
do. I mean, you have to go, but that's what you have to start looking at. Like, what takes up this? What type of beers can we bring in? How much space on a pallet does it take? If it's just cases of cans, 2 pallets of cans, that's a lot of beer.
160 case or whatever.
Yeah,
it
that's
is,
a
like,
lot.
something
That's
like
a
that.
lot. But, if it's 16 half barrels and we take 4 of them,
Right.
okay. All right, you got to move 12 half barrels. Like that seems doable.
In the city of Chicago, yeah.
In the city of Chicago, so that's the sort of stuff that we have to start thinking about. And I'm honestly optimistic or hopeful. Let me say hopeful. Maybe not optimistic, but hopeful that we can start doing that, because one of the things that we have talked about internally before this is how we need to have like almost a chart of like what are the breweries that we like are top tier that like we cannot forget about, even though there's probably not going to be a lot of representation for them here. Mm-hmm. And then like what's the next tier? Like we have to like just check in every once in a while. Like I would like Blackberry Farm on there, right? Like who knows if they'll ever come in.
Long-winded story with that.
But like we care.
Listen, I can sell you
Keep
really
asking.
highly carbonated kegs of Saison if you need.
Yeah, right. They're not the only highly carbonated keg of Saison brewery that we
few.
care about, Mike.
Hey,
but
we've
they're
got
one of them.
We've gotten a lot better most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. But yeah,
Yes.
no, there's like a lot of brands that like we wish we had a closer connection to, but we feel we're forced to be distant from because we just don't have access to them.
Or some
Right.
that we just forget about.
Or we forget about. There's certain
Out
ones
of
we
sight, out of
100%.
mind.
And it's a shame because it's like, I know that we probably touched on this before, you guys probably touched on this before, but it's like at this point in time in the market, it's like, who cares what you have access to? It's more about your creation and curation and what you can like push towards the customer, and like you want everything to be
Right.
a banger. You don't want any misses.
Right. I was playing devil's advocate.
Oh, no,
I
for sure,
don't. I don't
for
hate the distributors or anything. But
I love
I think this like of course I love them. I deal with them all the time. Not at all. But I think having to like the only way you're going to get the transparency you hopefully get now from these distributors is by sending in that tweet that you didn't even think would be inflammatory, but has become some sort of
It is
attention
frustrating.
grabbing thing. But like if there were more boots on the ground, even from the distributor and not just the brewery end, or because neither one can afford to have every single brewery fully represented. But specifically for what you guys need is just to know what's actually available, and what are you actually willing to do, and how are you actually willing to work with specialty stores and specialty breweries, because like you guys don't exist in the normal model of what their distribution desires are.
No.
But you are incredibly important for what they distribute, right? Like you, this is one of the best places to buy packaged or draft beer in the world. So the fact that like you can't even figure out what they have in their book is hopefully this is a step in the right direction of them being like, all right, this is what the specialty people that actually make the tastes that people end up buying 10 years from now is.
And you know what? We have to tighten up stuff on our end too. It's not all on them.
I think this is the most efficient machine I've ever been inside
Yeah,
of.
You are.
True.
So,
That's a huge lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, his fingers aren't crossed. I can see them.
Just my legs and my
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, we're not perfect.
we'll
but-
see. Should we move on to letters, or should we keep talking about this? Oh, hold on. There's a whole second part to this tweet.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We gotta get in the second.
I said
gear.
we'll talk about it for 10 minutes. It's now been 28. Jesus.
I think we gotta go to the
I
second
like-
gear. Should we take a break before we do it though?
No, I'm just going to keep going.
All right. Well, Max
can
is
get up.
Max.
Yeah, that's fine.
I hear this.
So,
What's the second gear, Chris? What was the second life of this tweet?
I might have to quote this one. So this stupid ass tweet that I sent, and I just really want to emphasize the amount of thought I put into that tweet.
Sure.
The sentiment I stand behind.
But you got to
right?
own it, yeah, right?
I stand behind the tweet, right? Okay. So
Thought
let me pull it up
zero,
because it's still the
100.
It's still the last tweet I sent. So
You guys tweet a lot, though.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what the views counts for, but it's got 25,000 views. This tweet.
It's more people than listen to this podcast, I think.
Yes, no, I'm sure it is. Okay, so it got a bunch of this, people writing back, and blah blah blah. Then it got quoted because there's a quote tweet by who quoted this? Oh, yes. It was quoted by the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild. And it says, "We firmly believe the relationship among all three tiers is both important and valuable, but it cannot come at the expense of our craft beer producers." Love it. That's great. This is a great example of why craft breweries should have direct-to-consumer shipping privileges. # support ILDTC. You motherfuckers.
I mean, this
Like
is something
what?
that
Like what? Just what the fuck are you talking about?
This is something that I support too.
You
Like,
love to see it.
I want to be able to ship beer. And
So
deliver
I
to
just
people,
responded.
but it's so tone
Well, the
deaf.
Beer Temple just responded, "No, it's not."
It's so funny to me that like a retail partner talking about a distributor, and then the Craft Brewers Guild is like, "Fuck you both," you know, like
Yo,
it's-
you both suck.
Sorry, Serge, but it's just like, yeah, but, you know, yeah, you're right, but also middle finger to you, you know, like,
Not even that. Not even that. But just like using it as a shill, a platform to shill your legislation that you know the retailers are not in favor of. It's like, you sons of bitches. And the episode had just come out where we talked about that legislation. So I was like, after I said, "No, it's not," I was like, "Oh, you know what I should
didn't
say."
have me on for. No,
It's true.
I saw like it was like a 20-minute difference. I was like, Chris just drove home and he sat at home and like in his garage probably shot that off.
Yeah. And I was like, well, you know, we did talk about it and I tagged like with Cruz Blanca and
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger and Ashley Brandt and and Zach Rotello from Olympic Tavern. And I said, and I linked to it. I was like, hey, let's get some play on that latest episode.
Nice. Look at us
because
go.
I was like, hey, we talked about this legislation. Then people could. I didn't say anything about it, but they can hear that we everyone there being like, you know, what? So someone else was asked, then mentioned it, and I said, well, what struck us is that this is obviously, you know, the BA, the Brewers Association, kind of pushing this from above, and
The ILB's Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, not the BA.
no, the BA.
it is. Oh, okay.
The BA is pushing
IL.
this to the local state levels because I was like, you know, it seems to me that in the past there was always somebody, and I don't want to rehash what we went over, but there was always somebody pushing this legislation, right?
Sure.
Like these legislations are always pushed because somebody wants to do something. I want my brew pub and my warehouse to be able to do this. It's like, oh, okay, well, there's a bunch of breweries that just opened production facilities that used to have brew pubs. Okay, I can figure out who's pushing for this legislation, you know? This one, it's like, who's pushing for this? And they were like, no, it's the BA is pushing for this. So it's like, you know, we all figured like nobody really cares about this thing, and so
I mean, my brewery stands to gain the most probably from this like legislation.
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
any.
because
So
you make
I'm
like
not-
4 barrels a year. So it's
right.
like-
And even I'm just like, I'm like, we can't compete with like places that actually deliver on a
Right,
normal basis.
right.
If this happens and it's not the pandemic, it's like I'm gonna be like, I'll get to you next Tuesday. Is that cool? People be like, no.
It's funny because like we at Beer Temple probably have more experience like shipping direct to customer than
anybody.
99.9999% of breweries out there.
probably every brewery in the state put together.
Oh yeah, And it's
guaranteed because we're not allowed to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, even during pandemic times,
Though.
Still not
even
allowed to ship.
Even if driving it, you know what I mean?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like driving it to customers, etc. It's like it's not.
Fulfillment
It's bad.
sucks.
It
Fulfillment
sucks.
sucks.
It sucks so much.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's horrific. You
Right.
don't want that. You're not going to make much money off of that, and it's just going to be like
Yeah. The only way we made money off it was for corporate because we
Yeah.
could jack up the prices for corporate.
Yeah, and
The
it's just
prices
like,
we wouldn't charge regular retailer consumers. You know,
Right.
that's how it made sense for
yeah,
us.
you're going
Right.
to make like minimally. It's going to be minimally like advantageous profit at the expense of real retailers that actually advocate for you. I don't know.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
Whatever.
but whatever. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
The only thing I could see is like
That was chapter
interstate
2.
shipping.
Yeah,
that,
chapter
like,
2.
places where like I don't have
Interstate
distribution.
shipping.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Intra
yeah.
or like,
100%.
even intrastate shipping to places that like I'm not going to ship to people in Chicago. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'll just,
Or like
go-
Springfield, like you did a thing down there. You're not going to be able to get down there.
Well, I also probably would be like, hey, if you're in Springfield, just go to this guy's place. Like,
Right. Right.
Like maybe I'm dumb, but like if you guys is
I
much
don't
more
think
integral
so.
as part of what we do as like us making the beer.
Right.
And so if there's a place where there isn't a partner that can do it effectively, sure, I'll ship to like another state, but I don't want to like take money out of your mouth or
Right.
out of your pocket.
So the idea is, yeah, I mean, I think that's what the BA is trying to do. They're trying to find new
money out of your
revenue
pocket.
streams. They're trying to say that, well, we can't really fight the distributors. They have too much money. They're too organized, but the retailers aren't organized, and we can maybe chip away at them, or that's an avenue for us to make new revenue streams, you know, is kind of what I'm guessing at. And so anyway, just this whole thing, and it just got me fired up again. And then I quit Twitter. I think Max, I was like, I'm off Twitter, man. I was on it for 2 days. That was enough.
Well, I mean, like I quit Twitter like many times to be like, 'cause I'm just too mean. Like I'm not a mean person, but like when I see stuff
10
like a
years
real
ago I did.
bulldog like, and I won't let it go. Twitter's a weird place, man.
So anyway, I hope this is the last time I talk about that tweet on the show.
Till next week.
To tweet next week and then take
Well,
down
that tweet.
take down the entire beer 3-tier system with your
Yeah,
your
basically.
get your brake pads changed and take down the entire system.
Exactly. Add new, wiper fluid.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Should fill up on gas, and you're just like, oh no.
Death Race
Exactly.
2000 right here.
So I would be interested if any the stuff that we were talking about interests you, or you have any more questions. If you need us to talk about distribution and the 3-tier system here, I mean, how can anyone still be listening, frankly, at this point? I mean, come on. But anyway, you can send us a letter,
Yeah.
electronic or written, and we will talk about it. We have a handwritten letter here, right here,
Yeah.
2 pages.
a 2-pager, baby. This comes from Eddie
Wow.
from
Thank you, Eddie.
Kansas City, MO.
Wow.
Yeah. So Eddie, this might take a while to get to this whole thing. Hello, Chris and Mike. Oh, and it's written to Chris at the Beer Temple is how we send it to. So if you want to send a letter, you can send it to Chris at the Beer Temple, Mike at the Beer Temple, Serge at the Beer Temple, Max at the Beer Temple, anyone at the Beer Temple. 3173 North Elston Ave. That's Elston, and that's Chicago, Illinois, 60618.
Just like Scruff McGruff.
Yep. If you want to do an electronic letter, you just send it to insiders@craftbeertemple.com.
But that's boring. You want paper.
Paper, baby.
Handwritten letters will always get read.
Yeah, always.
Typed out letters will always get read.
Yes.
Ransom notes.
Also, ransom notes is what we haven't gotten
yeah,
yet.
we haven't
So,
gotten
like,
that yet.
don't kidnap someone.
You can
But
ransom
if you send it in like the
beer.
style of a ransom note, we'll read. We'll definitely
Kidnap
read.
So we're
someone.
not- so
you know
not-
what? Kidnap someone.
Oh, we're pro kidnapping here.
I'm gonna say pro no kidnapping, but
I'm usually not pro kidnapping unless you do one of those old-fashioned ransom notes and send it to me along with a pertinent beer podcast question,
That's right.
then I'm for it.
Okay.
Answer
Then
this
I'm for it.
question. in
Still
this 15
anti-kidnapping,
minutes.
but I get where you're coming from.
Okay, well, you and I can disagree. We can agree to disagree.
That's what the show's all about, right?
Right. So, Eddie writes, "Hello, Chris and Mike," and then says, "Hey, guys and esteemed panelists. I am writing in I am writing in
said
to
esteemed.
pose 3 separate questions. Here are the 3 below.
Wow.
1. Say you had 2 options. Zombie dust or zombie dust with Citra Cryo, incognito / spectrum Citra. Those are the 3. Which would be the better dust without personal taste hindering your decision?"
You know,
Hold up.
I'm all in on innovation on hop cryo products, so I got to go with zombie dust.
Okay, so zombie dust,
Regular zombie
cryo zombie dust, or incognito zombie dust.
I'm going regular.
OG,
All the
OG.
way. Not even a question about it.
It's a tough,
I do-
call, but 100%.
I mean, if I'm looking for the short, well, it depends. If I'm looking for short-term gains, cryo. If I'm looking for long-term, I keep
Crypto.
with the regular.
So wait a
Are we
second.
trying to lose or are we trying to win here? Sam
question is-
Bankman-Fried actually took all of my dust coin.
He did?
He took all of it.
Wait
All
a
the
second.
dust-
Where is it now?
It was in the Bahamas.
Yeah, the feds have it now.
Wait,
And now
he
it's
funged
evidence.
it?
He funged all of it.
Oh, man.
well, that's
no.
your that's
So now
on you, man.
Yeah.
I have to give a deposition.
The cryo funge is real.
I mean, if you let him funge your dust,
I've been not talking about it because it's
embarrassing.
yeah, it's really embarrassing.
Gave it to that weirdo house.
You guys realize I was almost in that Super Bowl commercial?
Was
From
on the
last
Super
year, you
Bowl.
mean?
Yeah.
Not this current. This
Yeah, well, I couldn't talk about it. I had to sign a bunch of NDAs.
Yeah, but they
But
expired.
when you also when you really
They were tied to the
when
life
you
of dust.
when you spend a lot of time on a podcast juicing up a cryptocurrency, it better not exist or else you're going to be in trouble. So when I was like pushing Dust Coin,
Yeah, I should have started Dust Coin.
it's not looking good for me, guys. This is my
Well,
my last
here's
show.
what I'm saying. To me, it's obvious that you're going against what Eddie is saying because
Sorry,
you're
Eddie.
saying your personal taste is hindering your decision. I will not allow my personal taste to hinder my decision.
Right.
So, therefore, I will say that obviously Incognito and Citra Zombie Dust would be the best if I wasn't taking my personal taste into account.
Sure.
If I was taking my personal
Right.
taste into account, I'd say I'd probably have to go at this point with Zamboni.
Yes.
D.
The
None of the
Zamboni.
above, if you know what I'm saying. I'm all in on Zamboni. You know,
Kinda
I love that ice.
kinda the cryo
gliding
one.
over the ice, you know.
Cryo. Yeah.
Question 2. I've noticed IPA lovers ditching the Spyglass shape and shapes like it for a Willy Becker glass. Actually, I've noticed Becker's used as an all-around style glass. So the Willy Becker is kind of that like German pint that kind of like slopes out and then tapers back in at the very
Yeah.
top.
But
you know,
it's like subtle.
Yeah.
subtle.
It's not
subtle.
like a teku that goes out, back in, out
no,
again.
no. It's kind of like
But it
a
can hold more than like 3 ounces.
Well,
kind of like a nonic, except for that little bulge. It kind of like is just a gentle
Right.
sweep, right?
yeah.
Very similar to kind of like it's like a pint glass. It's like a shaker pint, but it
Yeah.
just is a slightly more
Eloquent.
eloquent. Yes.
Yeah.
So I've actually noticed Becker's used as an all-around style glass. I would agree. Besides the stemless snifters used for thick Triple C stouts.
Stemless snifters.
All right. So that was an observation. But here comes the question.
Great.
The question is, do you think Willy Becker / pub style glassware can support most styles of pale beer? Asterisk pale beer, meaning lager, comma, pale ale, comma, blonde, comma, goldens, etc. That's his question.
Yeah.
That's the question. Do you think Willy Becker's can support most styles of pale beer?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think
100%.
so much of glassware is bullshit. Like, I think a well-made glass with a thin lip is basically the biggest defining character of how you feel and how it tastes, how it
Not
affects
that big,
your
fat,
taste.
rounded top, ideally.
The
right?
thicker the glass when it hits your lip, I think changes to me the way it tastes more than anything else. And then some sort of thing that like it might capture a little bit of aromas, but you're filling that thing at the top with foam, so the foam is actually getting you more aroma than any shape of your glass is going to.
For me, I agree, 100%. I think to me, glassware serves two purposes. One, the right volume. It should hold the right volume depending on how strong your beer is. Mm-hmm. So more than color. So I would say Willie Becker would be fine for porters, Irish stouts,
Sure,
non-pale beers, right? That are low alcohol, that are meant to be drank kind of in bigger volumes.
yeah.
I think you start getting into Belgians, stuff like that. Those are blonde, can be too strong, right? Like a golden, like a Duvel. You don't want to do a Duvel and a Willie Becker. You're just going to be hammered, you know?
Right.
I mean,
go crazy.
right.
You're allowed to.
I mean,
You're allowed to. I mean, you can have Golden Monkey in a shaker pint. I mean, plenty of places
sure.
do it. Plenty of places do it. It's
Still,
probably
yeah.
how it's most
100%.
commonly served on draft is in a shaker.
Destroy your next morning.
not right.
Right.
I mean, at home, I only drink out of Willie Beckers or wine glasses, depending on what we're drinking.
Yeah, mostly me too. I have a few others. Like,
I
slightly
think-
more.
I
Special.
like a good stange.
I think glasses serve a purpose in two ways. I mean, I think that like for sure there is
Yes,
a
I never got to
little-
my second
Oh,
thing.
go,
I think
go,
it does.
go. No,
One
you
is
do,
volume.
You do, yeah. Sorry. I
The
forgot.
second is accounting for the carbonation in the beer. That's the other thing. So I do think sometimes a Willie Becker isn't good for a highly carbonated style, even if it is lower alcohol, because I think you want to have something that can hold a ton of foam in it as well. So I think sometimes a Willie Becker isn't ideal for that. So that's all. That was what I was going to say.
I agree. I think a fair bit with Chris here. I think there's another aspect is performance, because like if it looks good, it tastes good. That mentality. But if it's on a Tuesday when you're sitting at home and you're like drinking out of a glass that costs $450 because you bought at 450 North last week and you're so excited about it.
Which is Mega Man on this?
Oh, Mega Man's on it.
Shaped like a
That's the best glass. Let's
shaped
go.
like a
Just
cobra.
crazy.
Who made that glass, by the way?
I forget. He's a.
I think Mega Man made that.
No, it's a decently like, well-known like blower. Like he. Like,
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a established name.
Got it.
No disrespect to him. Only disrespect to people who drink out of it.
Let's go.
No, but it's like I think that if you're in the right circumstance, like if you're at home drinking a normal pint, like the size, like the shape of it is minimal. I used to have a lot of stemware at my place, and over time I just stopped using it for the most part. Outside of like I have like a bulb glass for like Belgians and like big stouts that I
I was
wear.
just gonna say Belgians. I still put in stemware, man.
Yeah,
I just
simple
do.
stuff. Yeah, it could be stemware. It could be like bulb. It could be something basic.
That's what I mean, like the tulip, like you're holding
tulip.
there. I can do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stemware.
But you have like whatever it is, but you have it in that aspect. But the rest of them, I just put in just normal pint glasses for the most part. But
Shaker pints?
sometimes
Animal.
it doesn't matter. But it's like if I'm at like say I'm paying $200 for a dinner, like a fancy dinner, and they bring out like fancy stemware for I don't know
Bud Light.
We'll go like at least like two levels above that. We'll say like a regional brewery. We'll say like Two Hearted. If they put Two Hearted in like a nice glassware, it's gonna feel elevated. It just like has that aesthetic to it. So I think that there's like room for that, but day to day at home, absolutely not. I think that it's just utility.
There is
at
like
home.
a vibe and presentation to stuff
Yeah.
that matters in certain circumstances, but like day to day drinkers, it's like
No, I don't
you
think it
want,
changes it.
I don't think you want to drink out of like one of those like thick water tumblers, like
No.
or even honestly, even a shaker pint I think changes the way it feels on your tongue. You want something that's a little bit like more refined,
Ish, I suppose.
Yeah.
but you don't need that.
Yeah,
But
I think you can drink 99% of beer with 3 glasses: a snifter,
Yeah.
a Willy,
Uh-huh.
and
Some sort
a
of
tulip,
stemmed. Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
a tulip. I think you can
I've-
get really close to pretty much everything.
I mean, we
with
joke.
those
I
three.
think you can replace the tulip with a wine glass. It's more utilitarian at
Yes.
home. You
Yeah.
can drink wine out of it too. You're
I'm
not gonna
talking
drink
about it
wine
at like a bar or
Right, no,
whatever.
yeah.
Fine, wine glass. Wine glass too.
But some sort of stemmed thing that's
Yeah.
like a little bit.
But like
more
even
shaped.
we like joked around with that with like our last glass release was a Phantom beer glass that was in a stong, like an 8-ounce stong,
just
which
like they
has
do in soy.
some. Yeah, it has some historical relevance, but like to be fair, it's such an oddball shape to ever have a saison in 2023.
Yeah.
But
You know what? The
Who
first
cares?
the first place
It's
Chris
fun.
saw a saison in Assange like that,
it Beer Temple like last year.
it was not.
Where?
Is was baby.
Oh, Israel. Oh, yeah. That's true.
Innovator right here.
That's right.
Must have had a big impact on Sir Nate Nelson.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have, and he has a big impact on me as well.
Yeah, 'cause that's why we didn't ston, just
Yeah.
stongs, because he said that. All right, we think that Willie Beckers are very, very versatile
And
glasses.
I think if you can only have one glass to drink beer out of, that's
Yes,
the one
that's
I pick.
the
Yeah,
one I would
I agree
say.
with that, yeah.
I'd say that or a tulip to me, because you can do most things in a tulip, man. You can do a lager in that.
For
Just-
sure.
It'd be just fine.
But the Willy Becker just feels so good in your hand, you know? Just feels
Yeah.
like you're drinking a beer.
Yeah,
you know?
I'd say maybe the tulip would maybe be my one if you had to do only one, because you can do
Well,
a
like
stout in it, you can do a Belgian in it, you can do a lager in it. I mean,
a 20-ounce.
And
you can do an
that-
IPA in it,
and-
double IPA.
And in the tulip, when we're talking about volume and volume appropriate
Yeah.
for the alcohol,
Yeah.
it works better with not being full.
Yes.
A half full Willy is sad.
Yeah, yes. That's
But,
kind of why I think that. Yeah. Okay. So, question 3. On your snark tank, he asks if it's trademarked. Yes, it is. It was trademarked. On your snark
Is and
tank
was.
trademarked episode, we heard an idea from Mr. Shiesty, which was dismissed about tap rooms rotating through impossible to get / favorite destination breweries from their beers. My thought is to have a tap room in beer destination cities like Austin, Asheville, both Portlands, Denver, San Diego, and Chicago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cities is what he's got there.
There's
So
a couple cities that
let me go to
Just saying that's
page
like
as an example.
doesn't have to be all of them, but
No.
Let me
I do find those cities to be interesting. Okay.
page 2 here. It always sounds like when I go from one page to another. In these 7 proposed cities, you could have a selection of Asheville beer in Portland, San Diego beer in Chicago, etc., and rotate forever. Then Mr. Shiesty can take his next beercation in Denver and not wonder if there's better beer in Austin, because he can just, it's always rotating through those beer city. Any takers? I want 100 dust fungibles. Hey, I want 100 dust fungibles.
well, you gotta talk
for
to
that.
SBF about that at this point.
Well, hard to get to it at this point.
I mean, I'm saying, man, I think dust coin is still. I did not funge my dust coin, so mine are still holding
No, it's
real
doing
strong.
great. It's doing
Mine
really
is
well.
still
Strong hodl.
doing-
insanely volatile, and we know the way I'm talking about.
Up
only
and to the
up,
right,
baby.
baby.
It's only volatile up, baby. That's the way I like my fungibles. Highly
Funge 'em up.
volatile. Always up.
Funge up into the right.
So, yeah, I mean, it'd be great if you could do it. How the hell are you? It has to be among tap rooms. It has to
Right.
be just
Right.
breweries having this own little circle jerk that they do, where they say we're shutting everybody else out, and this is what we do.
I mean, in this theoretical business model, that's not what it is, though, right? It's this it's this brand in 7 cities that shares this consortium of hyped breweries.
How?
Right.
Yeah, and how do you
But-
keep that brewery, or how do you keep that those beers exclusive to just your location. They're going to go to other
I think
places.
he's saying you have a tap room, and then you have like guest taps from these other cities. I think that's what.
But how do they get there?
Well, I think it's more of a bar that is taps into this larger distribution network that only other parts of other bars in that, like, it's like a yard house, but it's we only get hype beers.
He wants a Tide House, but hype.
I think
hype
it really-
house.
A hype house.
Right.
He wants a hype house.
Yeah.
I think that exists, and I think it got shut down.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, like what you're saying is right. The only way this works is if like a bunch of breweries get together and like have the margin for this, because like I don't think there's the volume.
Yeah, it's a
and
cartel.
and the
He wants
brand
a hype cartel.
I just don't think there's like the brand awareness amongst the average consumer to make something like this viable.
Yeah.
In like Chicago, like name
Right.
4 Portland
So
breweries
here's
you want beer from.
So here, let's do it. Let's do it real quick. All right.
So
So,
seven. So what?
here are
what
the cities. Let's pick each one, and then does any of us have a pen? All right, whatever. Okay. So you have Austin. What's your? Let's say Austin Beer Garden.
Yeah, Austin Beer Garden or
So Austin or Live Oak.
Live Oak,
Pick
Live Oak.
Live Oak. Okay, we'll do Live Oak.
Live Oak.
All right.
Done.
So far, so
Asheville.
good. Sierra Nevada.
Burial. Maybe.
I'd go Sierra Nevada.
I mean, if I
that's
was
not
if,
hype
if,
enough.
I would say
You gotta have
Dissolver.
anchors.
What?
Dissolver.
Dissolver?
That was no. That's no. I'm not trying to be like weird about this, but it's like that's the like burial offshoot almost.
Okay. Or there's Fontaflora.
True.
There's Wicked Weed.
Actually, I think
there's
Fontaflora would be the better one to go with.
Fontaflora?
Yeah, well, so Fontaflora.
Okay,
yeah.
so we've got Live Oak, Fontaflora, Portland, Maine, Oxbow.
I'm too basic. I'd go Allagash.
Yeah, but that's not right for this thought experiment.
But Allagash isn't in Austin.
Bissell
Allagash
Bros.
isn't in Portland, man.
Oh.
Or Portland, Oregon.
Isn't
Right?
No,
No.
we're doing
No,
it in
they're
Portland,
not.
Maine. Portland, Maine.
They're in Portland, Maine, but they're not in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah,
like the things that we take for granted being in Chicago is like the thing that's going to make this go is like getting Nuclearis to do this, getting Allagash to do this, because they can like send volume and they have way more
you don't
reach.
need volume if
They
you
have
do it
way
in
more
one
reach
spot.
than Dissolver does.
But
Yeah, you do need volume because you got to sell a bunch of stuff. You need
This is like a magical situation where you have like 7 tap rooms that are exchanging their locations.
Let's get all right. Let's go.
Okay, let's keep going
Let's
with
go.
it.
Yeah.
We'll go Allagash. We'll go
All
Allagash. Portland, Oregon. What are we doing? Breakside
I don't even know.
or
Let's just go back in time 5 years and say Fatheads. They have a location out there. They did.
I mean, Breakside makes some pretty
Breakside's
amazing
good.
beer.
What was?
There's a million in Portland.
Breakside.
Yeah, what
Breakside.
the fuck?
Was
Denver,
Wayfinder in Portland?
Denver.
Sorry, sir.
What do we got?
Denver.
Denver. You can go a million there. There's Hogshead,
That's Bierstadt, dude.
Bierstadt,
Bierstadt.
It'd be
Bierstadt.
Bierstadt. I wish it
Bierstadt.
was. I wish it was Hogshead, but it's Bierstadt.
Bierstadt,
Or True.
San Diego. Who do we have down there? We could go.
Stone, baby.
We could do North Park. We could do that Rip place that people are talking about. We could do
Can
McElhenney.
McElhenney.
They're so tiny. I mean, nobody knows about that brewery.
I think that if you're trying, man, I don't know.
Is that where that's where Beechwood is, right?
True?
They're close enough, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
So-
Beechwood,
Beechwood, yeah.
and Chicago. So, I mean, if you could go to a place.
Was. Let's go.
Was. Okay, so then we have, or let's say Floyd's. Let's say Floyd's.
Yeah.
3 Floyd's.
That's not even
Half
Chicago.
acre, probably.
Oh, come on.
Go
yes,
half
it is.
acre.
I mean, it won.
Disrespectful.
It won the Chicago Craft Brewery Beer Awards. Beer.
The 39th annual Chicago.
Yeah, it won the Chicago Brewery of the Year.
Yeah.
So how can it not be a Chicago brewery?
That's
I don't think
wild.
he's even paying
That's also
attention.
wild. No, I'm paying attention, 100%. No, I.
The 39th, first annual 39th annual Chicago Craft Beer Awards.
Do you think that place would do better? I think it might. I don't know.
I don't think Three Floyds.
I think it just gets lost in the sauce.
Then again,
Like,
for
Yeah.
sure, Three Floyds wouldn't be much different than like Allagash. I think outside of market.
Right. So if you
He'll be
could go,
fine. Yeah,
you
he'll
can
be
get Zombo. Go zomboned, get zomboned
Sure,
down
the
in
three
Austin,
Floyds.
Texas.
Zomboed in Austin, Texas. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty. I'm in.
I'm
I've
in.
changed my opinion.
Yeah,
You're-
if we can send Three Floyds down there and we get Live Oak back here, let's do it. Sorry, Three Floyds.
I don't know. It's like, as when this was presented the first time, like I think it's like a very cool idea for the beer nerd that thinks they're going to walk in there and get exactly the beers they want. I think
Your average person doesn't
the actual
care.
logistical reality of it is much more difficult. And then the idea that you have to attract more than just the really hardcore beer nerds makes it even harder.
So how can you retain like an active customer base for 2 months? Like every 2 months, you got to rotate
Right.
and
And-
have a vastly different like tap situation. Like it doesn't retain.
And then
that.
like,
Oh, that's right. He's just saying it's connected to the cities, not even the breweries. So it could be Burial, and then it could be, Zebulon, and then it could be
Yeah.
Fontaflora,
that
and then
idea
it
is
could
just-
be
like who's,
yeah.
it's cool.
it's
and
hard
I'm into
enough
it, but
to like get a
I don't know if it's
restaurant that has like, oh, we're representing like we have po' boys or we have like
Right.
lobster
I think-
rolls or whatever. It's
I think it's like an awesome idea in like 2015, 2016, where it's like, oh man, like beer is the most ascendant, coolest idea. But in 2023, it's just like there's just so many breweries.
so saturated,
And
yeah.
how many people beyond like the very center of the bullseye that we sell beer to have any idea where most of these breweries are? Like,
yeah, I do think that it kind of like
People still come out and stand in lines for some stuff at some times. So there are the people out there. I don't know.
there's oddball
Fun to
ones
think
that's
about
hard.
more than the practicalities of it. I like it as a fun thought experiment rather than the
yeah,
well, what would the P&L look like?
Right, right,
But I mean, we're still excited. To be fair,
yeah,
like
agreed.
At here, we're still excited about the prospects of like, I don't know, they're like Fontaflora being able to send us casks or something. like
Yeah.
that, if that were possible.
Forest
It'd
and
be
Maine
cool.
might be sending us some cash. That's
They're not
pretty
sending
awesome.
to
Forest
you
and Maine
though.
would be like that,
They're sending it to this bar.
If possible,
Sure.
who knows? Like there's
Are
certain
you that bar though? Maybe the second beer temple is the hub for this. Let's get
Oh, that's a good call. I'm only doing cask from around the country.
I'm only doing your best mild.
cask
Exactly.
only bar in Chicago.
Only from places outside of Chicago.
Yes.
Wow.
That's the one
That
thing people say
specialize
about
in
cask. It
cask.
should be from as far away as possible.
J.W. Lee's
Yeah.
on cask all the time at a bar.
We got a bunch of bottles. Pour them into a cask. Let's pump it out.
Angustro bitters on cask.
Hey, we've done that in Chicago.
Yeah, I know we have. That's only why I bring it up.
I hope your week, month has been well. Your week, month has been well. I also hope to find myself in Chicago soon. Thanks, Eddie. Well,
Thanks,
thank
Eddie.
you,
Thank
Eddie.
you, Eddie. Thank you so much.
Shit. You know, I keep all these letters, by the way.
Yeah.
I have them stored away
Pins
in
them
a
above
filing
his-
cabinet.
He pins them above his bed with like
Someday my children will throw them away.
dark. All right. Do we do it?
Well, we did that part.
Yeah.
I think that what's our total time there, Serge? Oh, boy.
1:45.
We
Oh, man, we got-
nailed it. Man, I could talk about
Dustin,
nothing
pros.
forever. But next week, there's an actual round table.
Yep.
And actually, I won't be here, though. But I
Meeting a
set
round
you
table
up.
the first time.
I set you up with some good guests. So,
I'm excited.
yes. But you're going to have to come up with your own topics. So that's on
I'm just gonna
you.
talk about like, what do you guys really think about Chris?
He's not listening.
He's not gonna listen.
It's probably true. I won't.
You're just gonna like pull up the tweet on an iPad and turn it around. It's like, what do you think of this?
And just a picture in the background. Like,
2 hours later.
look at this guy.
Look at him. Yes. Anything you'd like to say, either of you, before we get out of here?
No, just be kind to me as I host my first roundtable since like 2014 when you asked me to guest host, and I was terrified.
Are you going to start it out with some sort of radio hour beforehand? It's the Zomboni.
No,
Zomboni.
but
baloney?
that will come back in the near future.
I think it should. It has to be soon.
It will be.
Okay. Good. All right then. Well,
I'd like to apologize to Serge for probably out of the three of us the most
That's not fucking true.
got Well, maybe you might be up there then. You might be up there.
Had to get my numbers up,
Yeah.
Rookie numbers.
Yeah,
You gotta get high scores.
a lot of
here.
cursing for a 3-person show where you and I are the two, because we don't
Well,
we don't do that too often.
We
but
don't.
Whatever.
And Max is a bad influence on us.
Well, you know.
All right.
I don't know
Well,
language.
we will see you guys next week. Thanks as always. So long.
Bye.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, again, again,